Actually.
So, Navien, tankless water heater. Full maintenance today. So we got, model number is gonna be
Your cameraman if you need it.
NR 240A. Can't remember. The screws. Yep, 2 screws up there, 2 screws down here. This helps if I put it to Phillips, huh? By the way, most of these are taller than me.
Most.
I'm kind of tiny.
There's a chair here if you want to stand on it.
Good, dude. Usually they're not mounted quite this high. This isn't just a Navien thing though. Pretty much every water heater on-demand unit has 4 screws on it.
Mm-hmm.
Always make sure when you're pulling these screws,
Mm-hmm.
the door's got a hook on it. Not all of them do. Rheems and Bosch sometimes don't.
Yeah,
So you'll go to take the screw out and the whole door will fall off.
because the hook's not engaged or doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist, usually. So a few basics on the water heater. Up here, the screen has to come out. There's a screw on top and a screw on the side. So I'll have to actually step on that chair. May not have to actually do that. May get lucky. Yeah, got lucky. That screw's dealt with. It's always a dirt catcher. Looks like this one hasn't been cleaned in a long time. So we need that brush. You don't want to get this wet because it'll can cause an error code to happen. So just get it clean the best you can. It's always a lint catcher, essentially. Keep it from getting lint inside the intake and getting that burnt inside the burner. Almost. Some guys will use a toothbrush for this, but this old chip brush will work just fine. Back in the way you took it out. And yes, it is a longer than normal screw. So that's in place. Down here is the dirt catch. It literally catches dirt. It's this little white box here. That's literally all that'll be in it. This has obviously never been pulled out either. So, pour all the lovely, disgusting sludge out of it. Borrow rag. O-ring, sometimes it'll come off, it'll be sitting up. Make sure it's seated on that first little lip there. It's got a nice little groove for it. And then the way that this thing is held in place, it's just this little pin lock, so it shoves in, and then that pin lock goes in through these two holes and locks it in place. It's a pretty quick and easy component to put in. Shove it up in there, line the two holes up, shove it in. That part's done. Okay. Next step, isolation. Cold water, off. Hot water, off. Maybe. This one has not been serviced. These valves are stiff. We gotta drain the water out of the water heater. Rubber gasket got stuck. From time to time that'll happen. Make sure that gasket ends up back in that door. And always make sure you got a hold of your gun, your hose. Just gonna drain the water out of the water heater here. So that's number one. Okay, second hose. Wow, this one's way stiffer than the other one. Same thing, make sure the gasket's still seated. Hook up the garden hose. Washer hose, these are a little long, but they'll do the job. Same deal. There's still gonna be some residual water left in that line. So we're gonna go ahead and do this. Make sure you get yourself a nice little submersible pump. An inline pump works, but it adds an extra hose, and you really should have a screen on the end of the hose so it doesn't suck anything into it. This one's got a built-in screen, so it won't pick up any of the junk. Set this guy down in there. Now before I go and do that, there's a domestic water inlet underneath here. On this particular model, it's vertical. We gotta pull that because it's got a screen in it that we're gonna need to clean. So, give it an eighth of a turn. I'm gonna hold a rag there because it may leak some water. So this screen's not too bad. A little bit of junk on it. Not terrible. So it's doing its job. Always want to make sure that O-ring's in good shape. So I get it as tight as I can with my hand. And then, if I can, give it a little turn with the wrench. No question that it's tight enough. So, we got our pump. We got our hoses already hooked up. All we got to do is add the vinegar. It's 2 gallons. Navien's requestment is, if you're doing this consistently on a 6-month basis, you can honestly reduce it down to about 1. So we'll just add another half gallon. Okay. This pump will start up as soon as I plug it in. Make sure you got a hold of your outlet hose. And there we go. While that's going on, make sure that everything stays clean there. Nothing's dripping down here. We'll let it run for about 45 minutes. And we're back. Looks like fluid went from clear to blue. Kind of a bluish color, so it's done a pretty good amount of work. So what we'll do here, go ahead and unplug the pump. Go ahead and shut this one down. So what I do, unhook everything, close this, last hose, this thing's still full of vinegar. I'll just crack this open a little bit. And we'll just let it flush out for a minute. Honestly, nobody wants to take a shower in hot vinegar. And that's all I do. Make sure that all the caps are put back on. The hose is away. We'll dump this bucket down a drain. Lastly, we'll go ahead and plug it back in. Provide power. I didn't specify this earlier, but when you're hooking up your pump, make sure your pump is pumping from the cold and then out of the hot. Just it'll make it run a little better. It's not designed to run the opposite direction.